It started out as the perfect vacation. Crystal blue water, a tropical breeze. Then suddenly, a passenger jet falls out of the sky and crashes into the ocean 200 feet offshore. Now it will take a miracle for any of the people on board to survive. This is Bombay, India, a city of 6 million residents. Among them, American Franklin Huddle and his Thai-born wife, Chanya, who have lived there since 1996. Huddle is a career diplomat with the United States government, currently based in India.
I've been the Consul General here in India, which is, represents all of Western India, about over 200 million people, and much of the commercial activity for the country. My wife and I were going to take a vacation to Nairobi and then go on to a safari out in the middle of the Masai Mara area, one of the most beautiful places in the world. And we had already arranged a vacation, and we took Ethiopian Airlines because it was going to take off and land in daytime and had a convenient routing from here.
The Huddles planned to take Flight 961 leaving Bombay on November 23, 1996, with a stopover in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. After refueling, their Boeing 767 would continue on to Nairobi, Kenya.
The second leg took off from Addis Ababa about 20 minutes late, about 11:10 a.m. And there was nothing unusual about it particularly. I had been upgraded to business class along with my wife to seats 9, C, and D at the last minute as a courtesy. We got on, and the plane was reasonably crowded.
Flight 961 departed smoothly, and the Huddles relaxed on their once-in-a-lifetime vacation. But when the plane reached cruising altitude and leveled out, what began as a routine flight suddenly became a nightmare.
A hijacker, or a figure, a man, came zipping down the right aisle and shouting something I couldn't understand. It was sort of incomprehensible, incoherent. Then I saw out of the left-hand side of my thing a figure move and sort of flit down the aisle quietly, and I thought, uh-oh, this looks like a hijacking. There's more than one.
I saw one carrying, I think the bottom of the liquor, but I believe inside is gasoline. But I'm afraid of my husband will get, to be a hostage.
The hijackers forced their way into the cockpit, where they demanded to change course. When the co-pilot objected, they knocked him out.
After about 20 minutes, half hour or so after they had taken over the plane, they came onto the intercom and said basically that they, I think, had been in prison, at least 2 of them. They were oppositionists. They wanted to take the plane to another destination. They had only 1 bomb, and they were not afraid to use it. I was nervous, partly because I thought, well, we're going to wind up being flown to eastern Zaire, this war-torn area, or something like this. My wife was very calm. She's a psychiatric nurse, and she's got a calm personality. She was, I think, expected that sooner or later we'd probably have to land, and we'd run to the back of the plane and jump off at some point.
The pilot was forced to change the plane's course for Australia, a much farther distance than the original flight plan. The pilot unsuccessfully tried to tell the hijackers there wasn't enough fuel. When the tanks were nearly empty, the pilot realized he would have to crash land near the Comoros Islands.
The pilot came on for the first of what would be 2 announcements, and 2 only. And the pilot said, we'd lost 1 engine, we're running out of fuel, we were going to have to make a crash landing. When he came on with his second announcement with about 2 minutes to go and said we were going to have to crash land in the sea, some people were crying, some people were really agitated, other people were fairly calm. My wife said to get my eyeglasses and put them in my pocket and get my diplomatic passport and put it in a plastic bag, and I also got $560 and put that in the plastic bag as well in my left pocket, all of which survived. The only things that survived. The plane came down in a long, steady glide. You're in a survival mode. You're very calm, or at least very focused. You're trying to figure out how best you can maximize your chances of surviving. I could see that we were coming into the sea. My wife had seen there was a shore nearby. The first impact was relatively gentle. Then there was a really hard bump. And then just the most fantastic tumbling that I've ever experienced. And I said, oh, that's it, I'm dead.
After the crash, staff and vacationers on the Grand Comore Island rushed to the rescue. the Huddle's safety would hang on a miracle.
At the very last minute, blacked out. And the next thing I knew, I woke up. I was alive. I was sitting in the sea, and the first thing I said is, "I'm alive."
It was very quiet, and I saw the water gush in from the right side. And then I, inflated my life jacket and unplugged my seat belt.
But even more miraculous was the fact that both their seats had broken away from the plane so they could float to the surface.
The seats had broken up completely in all the tumbling, and we were left with only the cushion down beneath us and the side parts, the back part, enough so that you could still fasten the seat belt to it. That part of the assembly was still left, and the seat, we were literally floating sort of upright in the water.
And I heard my husband said, "We are alive."
The plane was flipped over. It would look like a submarine sandwich, sort of sliced open. And the pilot and the co-pilot, I think, were standing up on top of the plane, almost like a ship captain on top of his ship.
I think we were on the water about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that. And the boat came to rescue us.
Luckily, among the vacationers on the island were 22 doctors who tended to the scores of other victims.
I went and had this emergency medical care about 45 minutes away in Moroni, the capital of the Comoros Islands. I suffered a sort of a sliced middle finger and a sliced up left foot and an elbow injury, and deep, very deep cuts. I lost about a third of my blood. You have 3 terrorists, you had 12 crew, and you had 160 legitimate passengers. Of those, 48 survived, 42 passengers, 6 crew, and no hijackers.
For Franklin Huddle and his wife Chania, survival was nothing less than a miracle.